Tennessee Titans fans, it is that time of the week where we hop on Reddit and see what fans are saying about the state of the organization right here as we get ready for the second preseason game against Atlanta tomorrow night as of this recording. And all of these posts we're going to be checking out today are from the Two Tone Talk Reddit page. Very pleased with how that community has taken off. There's a link to that Reddit community in the video description below. If you're not a part of it, go over there and leave your questions, memes, concerns, whatever you want to say, and it will get featured on this segment next week. You can guarantee it. Today, we're on the Two Tone Talk Reddit page. Appreciate everybody for leaving the questions and comments there. This user said the Titans made a big mistake drafting Cam Ward. Let me start this off by saying I love Cam. I love his attitude, and I want him to be the next great thing. But from my evaluation, his potential is just a tier 2 quarterback. If my evaluation of him is wrong, which I hope it is, I will gladly admit it. I hope he is the best quarterback in the league someday. I still think it would have made a lot more sense if we would have traded back and got a haul. That's what happens when you have a coach on the hot seat. You force a quarterback pick. Tier 2 quarterbacks, which is what I think Cam is, need a lot more around him to win a Super Bowl, like a Jalen Hurts type. And we don't have anything. We should have traded back, got some picks, build the team, and then potentially get a quarterback in next year's draft. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, absolutely. I think there are a lot of people out there that would agree with you that the Titans should have traded back. But the idea that the Titans only drafted Cam Ward because Brian Callahan is on the hot seat and they needed somebody to save Callahan's job, I don't agree with that at all. I don't think they would have drafted a quarterback just to save Brian Callahan. Not at all. I mean, they just hired Mike Borgonzi. I don't think Borgonzi is going to come in here and be like, how can we save this coach? I don't think that's going to happen. As far as the opinions on Cam, listen, everybody's welcome to have their own opinion about any player. I disagree. I think that Cam Ward has all the attributes to be an elite NFL quarterback. Whether he will or not, we'll tell over time. But I think that there was plenty good reason to draft Cam Ward where the Titans drafted him, to not trade back, to stay put where they were and draft him. I don't think we have even remotely. We've only seen 2 possessions in one preseason game. So I'm guessing this is an opinion that you had already come to before the draft even happened, because I don't know what you could have seen up until this point that would lead you to believe what Cam Ward is or isn't. But you're welcome to your opinion. I don't agree with a good chunk of it, but that's fine. This user says they want to know how you became a Titans fan. Good picture of the freak there. Then down here it says, how did y'all become a Titans fan? I went to the first Titans game when they were known as the Titans, 1999 season, week 1 versus the Bengals. I was only 4 years old, and I'm currently 30 years old now, so I will die a Titan fan. So for me, interestingly enough, you brought up the Bengals. I lived outside of Nashville at the time, so I mean they were the local team that we watched. But from what I remember, a little older than 4. I wouldn't say I was 4. I was probably more like 6. Yeah, 6 or 7. My dad took me to a Titans game at the then Adelphia Coliseum. They were playing the Bengals, and regular season game. I remember it was cold, so it had to have been toward the end of the season. Steve, Eddie, Frank, the Freak, all of them were there. Titans killed the Bengals in that game, and you can't see it, but I have some like little cards up there, like player cards that I got at that game that are in a frame up here. That pretty much sealed it. That day sealed it, and I've been hooked ever since. Appreciate the question. This user gave their biggest takeaways from the first preseason game. Cam showed good poise, made some nice throws, made a boneheaded decision when he threw the ball inbounds on the first drive when he was scrambling outside of the pocket. I agree. I'm happy he did that, though. Should be a good learning experience for him. He did it again in practice against Atlanta this week. The backup quarterbacks suck. If they cannot look confident against second and third string, if they ever have to start a game for us, we will 100% lose it. The defense played pretty well. Still a lot to build on, but there are some reasons to feel confident. The red zone defense looked good. The defensive backs broke up quite a number of passes, but overall they moved the ball on us too much. But the positive thing is we made them kick a lot of field goals. Perfect example of bend but don't break. The offensive line played pretty well for the most part. I feel pretty confident in saying we're much improved in that area. I think for the most part, the receivers did a decent job of getting open. And then down here at the end, they said, I want to see more from the running backs. They were kind of okay, but left me wanting more. So a few things to unpack there. This user was a little nicer to the defense than I would have been. I thought I did not care for most of what I saw from the defense in this game, considering that it was Kyle Trask starting in the game for Tampa Bay, and the defense was mostly the Titans starters without Simmons and Sweat, but most of the Titans defensive starters were in the game, and the Bucs went on an 11-minute drive that ended in a touchdown. That's unacceptable. They had him in 2nd and 17 and 2nd and 20 on that drive, and they let him out of it both times. That is unacceptable. So this user was a little nicer to the defense than I would have been. Agree with the assessment on Cam. The running backs, I was glad to see that Tyjae Spears got a better report than I was expecting. When I saw that Spears got carted off, I thought, oh no, that could be really bad. It's a high ankle sprain, which is not good, but he'll be back. It's just, can he stay back when he gets back? Agree with the assessment about the offensive line. We'll see. We got another game tomorrow night. I'm not freaking out about anything right now, but I do think the defense was a little worse than this user let on. This user said Restrepo starting slot next season. Hear me out. I think if Restrepo can keep his head down and work with the practice squad this season, work on his game, and if Lockett retires, I think he has a real good shot to not only make the 53, but get some serious repetition next year. I mean, for right now, I think you saw where Xavier Restrepo stands in the grand scheme of things. He didn't get into the game until into the fourth quarter. Didn't really have much of a look at anything. We'll see what happens tomorrow night against Atlanta. I don't think Xavier Restrepo's making the roster this year at all. But like this user said, I mean, look at Bryce Oliver. Bryce Oliver was on the practice squad much of last season. Some injuries happened. Bryce Oliver was working hard on the practice squad, and he got an opportunity to get into the games later on in the season. So maybe, like this user said, if Xavier Restrepo tears it up in practice on the practice squad this year, Tyler Lockett retires, who knows? Because Bryce Oliver's probably a lock to make the roster this year. So maybe Restrepo can take that Bryce Oliver type path to get to the main roster. This user said Jarvis continues to look like that man. And they've even got a clip from the game. You can watch Jarvis up at the top of the screen. They try to throw it to the rookie Emeka Egbuka, and Jarvis shuts it down. So Jarvis Brownlee's going to have to be good for the Titans for many reasons, even if L'Jarius Sneed comes back. And just like we talked about with Tyler Rowland on Monday on the podcast, that's starting to feel like Bigfoot at this point. Does it exist? Does a L'Jarius Sneed return exist? Is it real? I don't know. But either way, Jarvis Brownlee's going to have to be good. This secondary is weak. This secondary does not have a lot of good depth. And they're going to need Jarvis Brownlee to play and play well, be aggressive, but don't get penalized like he did on that play right there. And we saw some clips from the joint practice with Atlanta where he did some good things as well. Another Xavier Restrepo question. Seriously, was Restrepo on the field at all in the first preseason game? Was he on the field at all, or was the Tim Boyle botch job just so bad that I legitimately did not see him? I'm assuming that he was out with the third-team offense. Restrepo has exactly zero chance of making the roster if he has to catch passes from Boyle, which makes me sad, but on the other hand, I do want the best receivers available, and if Restrepo is legitimately the number 8 receiver on the roster, then I guess it can't be helped. I mean, he didn't get into the game until it was with Tim Boyle. That's not going to happen again because Tim Boyle's no longer on the roster. How was he ever on the roster to start with? I don't know. But he's been replaced by Trevor Siemian. I don't know how much better that is. But yeah, I mean, Restrepo's not making the roster. And I think the only shot he had of making the roster, now that we know what we know, is if he had proven to be an asset in terms of returning punts and returning kicks. And I think James Prochet has kind of emerged as the front runner in that regard, and that's what really puts Restrepo behind the 8 ball. But maybe Restrepo will get a chance tomorrow night against Atlanta to return some punts, return some kicks. If he does a good job, who knows? We still got a little ways to go until they have to make their decisions. But for me, right now, I see no path for Restrepo to make the roster. And I know that's disappointing for a lot of people. Xavier Restrepo has kind of become like the new Mason Kinsey. Everybody loves Xavier Restrepo. He's the fan's choice, but it just looks like he's not high enough on the depth chart. This user said, backup QB. This might be a slight hot take, but bring back Tannehill. At least then we would have a competent veteran leader to help mentor Cam. Even if he started having issues slinging the ball downfield, he was still extremely accurate. So here's the thing. I'm assuming this user put that before the Titans cut Tim Boyle for Trevor Siemian. Again, I don't know how much better that is, but it has to be a little better. Brandon Allen is not particularly good either. The backup quarterback situation's not good. I mean, these are not good players. But I did, like, Ryan Tannehill's now been retired for 2 years. He's been sitting at home for 2 years. I don't think that is a realistic option to bring a guy out of retirement. And even if he did come out of retirement, I don't think he's itching to come back to Tennessee. Not because he has any hard feelings, but this kind of feels like that's a chapter that he closed. Why would he want to come back as a backup quarterback at the place where he was a starter for 4 years or whatever? I don't think that's the answer for Ryan Tannehill personally. I don't think it's the answer that's realistic. And I don't know how good of production you're going to get. I mean, it'd be better than Boyle, but I don't know how good of a production you're going to get from a, guy that's been sitting on the couch for 2 years. Let the guy retire. Let the guy enjoy retirement. If you really want to make a splash as backup quarterback, I've seen people mention, if the Giants cut Jameis or something. I mean, Jameis would be fun. At least Jameis would be fun to have around. Like, I don't know if it would mean anything for the team. In fact, I'm pretty confident it wouldn't, but at least he'd be funny. At least there'd be some funny sound bites and things like that. Last question. This user said Cam Ward will struggle. Cam will struggle because of Callahan giving Cam just 2 drives in the preseason. It's a real mistake. He should let Cam play at least a quarter or a half. How can they really gel together if they aren't getting more live reps? Well, I mean, preseason is what it is. And, I do think it's a mistake, especially when you have a young quarterback, to just set him out. Like, Atlanta's not playing Michael Penix at all tomorrow night, and they didn't play him last week in their preseason game either. I think that's a mistake. He's a young player. There's no substitute for the live in-game reps. But, you don't, especially last week in Tampa Bay with the rain and everything, you just don't want something crazy to happen, like, Cam to slip or get hit wrong, and then there you go. Now we're stuck with Brandon Allen. So you got to think about injury risk as well. I see your point that how else are you supposed to gel unless you're getting live in-game reps? I just think that in preseason football, it's that's just kind of commonplace for quarterbacks and starters mostly to get a little bit of time in the games, maybe a quarter, maybe 2 possessions, which is usually about a quarter, and then they're out. If Cam turns out to struggle a lot in the regular season, I don't think it's going to be because he didn't get enough reps in the preseason games. But who knows? That's all I've got for you today. Don't forget to go check out the Two Tone Talk Reddit community. The link to that is in the video description below. You can go check it out, join in, submit your questions, comments, memes, whatever, and they will be featured here next week. I appreciate you. Tighten up. Bye.